Hey everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. This episode we're going to be checking out a piece from the career multidisciplinary artist known as Zouhair El Helou. This episode we're going to be talking about this incredible sense of energy here, this kind of confrontational composition, and the incredible sense of the AI generative realm. So let's jump right into it. So whenever you first see this work, you're met with a lone subject, a lone skull set in center here. Certainly is quite a striking first impression as we have this really vivid kind of diverse color palette, certainly floods the composition and catches the eye for sure. And so we see this kind of lone subject set in center here, right? And when an element is set in center, it's always going to catch the eye. That's normally kind of like a sense of harmony. It feels like everything revolves around it. And of course, our subject is not perfect in center. If he was, it would be kind of straight, kind of harmonious there, but it is slightly offset to the left. Kind of causes the viewer to look deeper within the canvas and interact with that for sure. We also see multiple layers of contrast here. Normally you would call this like a dark on light contrast because of that kind of silhouette which defines the form, but there really are multiple layers here. Of course, you have those kind of darker areas around here, which allows that kind of brighter tones to really make that light on dark contrast. And then of course you have that dark on light contrast inherent to kind of the silhouette and the definition of form there for sure. And so in the realm of color, like I said, an incredibly diverse color palette. You have reds, you have blues, you have yellows, oranges, not too many greens, so almost every color on the light spectrum for sure. This kind of diverse color palette does give us a sense of energy. Of course, you have all of these overlapping tones. It feels quite chaotic and it feels quite, energetic in that final impression. And so we also see an incredible sense of texture here as well. Kind of that smooth dripping paint, but then you also have mostly a kind of rough texture all throughout the composition at hand. And this can really be attributed to all these different layers, right? You have, it's just thrown on each one after another, and it's quite striking. And so that texture, which results from so many different layers, surely conveys quite masterfully for sure. And so there is quite a bit of visual energy here, right? There's visual energy from, say, intensity of color, such as kind of saturation there. Also a diverse color palette as well. There's visual energy also coming from the texture. So many different things really contributing to invigorate the spatial composition. All very important whenever looking at this work. And so we are looking at a skull, and all throughout here is this kind of red tone as well. So that's going to give us a sense of darkness. And, you do have those darker tones, but I would say blue and red are the most prevalent, and they're kind of fighting one another, right? Red is such a very visceral color, and then blue feels a little bit more is quite intense, so it does create a sense of energy. But blue in general, it's not too overpowering, it's not very visceral, so that does allow a little bit of rest within such a chaotic composition. And so, whenever we're looking at a skull, what's certainly going to catch your eye might be that famous piece from Basquiat. So a neo-expressionist skull, certainly we see that here, an incredible use of kind of vibrant, diverse color. We certainly see that for sure. And then aside from that, you have that incredible texture, and then you have, of course, the depiction of the element of the skull as well. So all very important, very famous neo-expressionist piece on the left here, and I kind of drew that comparison whenever I first saw this work. And also, we just showcased Ian Jones the other day, and Ian Jones... There we go. So Ian Jones, he also does a kind of neo-expressionist skull aesthetic well in some of his work. So I wanted to, bring that up real quick just to compare that as well. So some amazing works, of course, coming from the original Basquiat, as well as Ian Jones, and then as well as Zouhair El Helou as well. So some amazing works coming from that neo-expressionism realm for sure. And so the skull itself, it is, of course, a very dark symbol for, I would say, far beyond even recorded history. The skull has been used to represent death and destruction. So in kind of the context of this piece, it does feel quite dark. We have that visceral red, those kind of dark color palette. But aside from that, that blue is kind of juxtaposed against that. So there is a bit of light within that darkness as well. But the skull in general, of course, very archaic symbol of death, and a very visceral one at that, right? Certainly just stares right into us, a very confrontational. The eyes aren't quite hollow, as say with this work from Ian Jones. They do kind of have a little bit of life within that, but when you have a skull, it is going to be that overwhelming sense of death. And so the artist actually notes the inspiration from, a lot of neo-expressionist pieces that he saw in, I believe, the United Kingdom as well as Colombia. And whenever he said Colombia, I talk to a lot of people all the time about the works I'm showcasing, and some people saw this as reminiscent of Dia de los Muertos. So we might see that for sure, Day of the Dead, especially since he visited Colombia. He may be drawing some inspirations from there. Of course, the skull is a very very famous symbol of the Day of the Dead. So comparison, although it's hard to say direct influence, but he did go to Colombia, so there is a quite a big chance there that it could be inspired from that. And so this is a neo-expressionist piece. So we looked at two others here on the left. Both of those are neo-expressionists. Of course, you have Ian Jones and then the pioneer Basquiat as well. So all very important. And neo-expressionism really defines itself by its kind of non-objective standard approach, right? You're not trying to depict anything as too real, and you're not really worried about the accuracy of form, the accuracy of color, or anything like that. So the result is a very high-paced creative expression, very energetic composition most of the time with neo-expressionism, just some very vivid colors always within that style. And then within the medium of, say, AI generative art, or within the medium of kind of digital illustration, with both of those pieces there, both of those digital illustrations. This one, though, is actually AI generative mixed with mixed media as well. So he used DALL-E as well as, I believe, Photoshop and Procreate to just create an incredibly unique canvas here in front of us. So whenever you take the AI generative realm, it's already quite unique, right? But whenever you take that and then take it into Photoshop, Procreate, and then create an even more unique piece, there's really kind of infinite opportunities of novelty there. As creatives, there really is an infinite amount of creative possibility in front of us, but whenever you take the AI generative world and then add some more onto that, you're really kind of expanding those infinite possibilities, if that can even be said. So hope you all enjoyed today's work. It really is an energetic, a very striking composition. Of course, neo-expressionism is always going to feel that kind of high-paced creative expression. Absolutely amazing work. Zouhair El Helou is always doing some great stuff. So y'all enjoyed this piece, go check out the original artist, AI generative artists, as well as multiple different kind of mediums and disciplinaries. So hope y'all enjoyed. Hope y'all learned something. My name is Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see y'all on the next episode. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.